Did you know that about 250,000 people in the United States last year were able to reverse their liver disease simply from undergoing a weight loss operation, also known as bariatric surgery? What's even more surprising is that those 250,000 people only represented 1% of the population who could have benefited from this life-changing surgery. So that means there are about 25 million people suffering from fatty liver disease who could have helped themselves to a healthier liver, and that number is on the conservative side because we know that in the US, about 40% of the population nowadays is obese. That's about 130 million people. And most of them have some degree of liver disease. Hi, I'm Dr. Rizwan Chaudhry, and I've spent the last 10 years of my professional career as a board-certified bariatric surgeon, helping people lose weight and keep it off. Through the combination of dietary changes, surgery, and sometimes even medicine, I've been able to help over around 2,000 people live a longer and healthier life. Now, one of the scariest health crises we are witnessing with the rise of adulthood as well as childhood obesity is non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. You may have heard of the phrase fatty liver disease or non-alcoholic steatohepatitis, NASH, which is the medical term for an inflamed liver due to too much fat. You know, back in the day when someone died of liver disease, it was pretty rare. It was either due to hepatitis A or B, or some contaminated needle stick from heroin abuse, or from severe damage from alcohol abuse. But now, most of the patients that come to me for weight loss surgery have some degree of fatty liver disease. Now, you may be thinking, oh, what's the big deal? There's a little fat in my liver. What people don't realize is that liver is the powerhouse of our body's metabolic processes. How we process glucose, how we process fatty acids. Basically, the liver is the organ of the body responsible for the way energy is used and stored. So in order for someone to effectively remove toxins from the body, the liver needs to be healthy. In order for you not to bleed to death when you get an injury, your liver needs to be healthy and functional. When the liver is overwhelmed with the amount of fatty deposits, it begins to scar, which is known as fibrosis. And eventually this becomes completely dysfunctional, which is known as severe fibrosis and cirrhosis. But even before that point, the increased content of fat in your liver will lead to insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes, which we know leads to cardiovascular disease, heart attacks, and strokes. You know, humans can survive without kidneys. You can be put on dialysis. You can even survive without your ovaries, your uterus, your gallbladder, parts of your intestine, and even your entire colon. But there's no substitute for your liver. There's no artificial liver device to replace the liver if your liver goes bad. So if you end up damaging your liver bad enough, you die. That's what happens. Yet people are still happily drinking their third 36-ounce Mountain Dew and their Stanleys and munching on their fourth bag of Doritos, slowly building up liver disease, causing irreversible liver damage. It's important to understand the spectrum of liver disease and to determine, based on your BMI, where you are on that spectrum. BMI stands for body mass index, and it is universally accepted format to calculating how fat we are. Sure, there are some people who have a BMI above 30 and are healthy because their weight is mainly in the form of bigger muscles. However, that is the exception to the rule. Most people whose BMI is 30 or more are considered obese and are at risk for obesity-related diseases. And there's hundreds of them. The earliest stage of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease is hepatic steatosis, where there's no signs of inflammation, but about 5% of the liver volume is now made up of stored triglycerides or fats. Up to 15% of non-obese people have this stage of liver disease. So you can just imagine what happens when you start going to the obese stage. The next stage is hepatic steatohepatitis, where the liver is now inflamed and it is causing stress to the organ. This stage is also associated with fibrosis or scarring of the liver. So if your BMI is between 30 to 40, there's about a 60% chance you have NASH. If your BMI is about 40, there's about an 80% chance you have some sort of inflammation. And the worrisome part is up to 30% of people with NASH will develop full-blown cirrhosis within 10 years, and that's irreversible. Sadly, a couple months ago, I lost a patient to end-stage liver disease and cirrhosis. She had started losing weight after a gastric sleeve surgery, but the liver damage was already so severe that even though she had lost around 50 pounds, her liver was now damaged beyond repair. The good news is that if you haven't caused irreversible liver disease, such as severe fibrosis or cirrhosis, which is basically end-stage liver disease, you can still clean up your liver. A recent study followed 100 patients with hepatic steatosis, also known as fatty liver disease, who underwent bariatric surgery. They found that after 1 year, 100% of the people who underwent a gastric bypass surgery had either no or very minimal fatty liver. And about 94% of those who had a gastric sleeve surgery had resolution of their liver disease as well. So do yourself a favor, first put down that Stanley, unless there's water in it, and that bag of Doritos, and start getting serious about your health. Just because you're overweight or obese right now doesn't mean you can't change that. And just because you may have some fatty liver disease doesn't mean you can't fix it and reverse it. I want to share with you 3 things you can do right now, today, sitting in your home, watching this YouTube video, that can help start reversing your liver disease before it's too late. But before I do that, how can you tell if you have a fatty liver or inflammation of the liver? Well, the easiest way is to first get a blood test to check your liver function enzymes, or LFTs, namely AST and ALT. If these numbers are elevated, that means there is some sort of inflammation in your liver. The higher that number, the higher degree of liver disease. Another way we check the status of someone's liver is through an ultrasound, where a simple probe can detect the size and contour of the liver and pretty accurately determine if you do have fatty liver. Finally, a liver biopsy is the gold standard and most accurate way of determining the degree of your liver disease present and how severe the inflammation is. And this is usually performed by a surgeon like me, where at the time of a weight loss procedure or some other abdominal procedure, I will biopsy the liver and be able to classify the degree of liver disease. So back to what you can be doing right now to start cleaning up the liver. And I'm sure after hearing everything I've said so far, you figured out it has to do with losing weight. That's right. So number 1, reduce your consumption of carbohydrates in the form of simple sugars found in ultra-processed foods. Contrary to what many people believe, fatty liver disease isn't caused by consuming a lot of fat. It's caused by consuming a lot of carbs in the form of added sugars and high fructose corn syrup you find in packaged foods all over the grocery store. Some examples of this are Pop-Tarts, most things in the cereal aisle, carbonated drinks like Coke, Pepsi, Mountain Dew, Dr. Pepper, the list goes on. Ingested carbohydrates are a major stimulus for what is known as hepatic de novo lipogenesis, or DNL. Without getting too technical, this means that the liver converts excess sugar to fat and stores that in the liver. One simple way to start reducing this slow poisoning from damaging your body is to read the labels. So now, in all practicality, we are all exposed to a certain degree of high fructose corn syrup and added sugars because it's so rampant. So a realistic way to start this is that I tell my clients, if there's more than 3 grams of added sugar per serving, try to avoid that. If you're used to drinking 4 12-ounce sodas every day, reduce that number to maybe 2. Start with gradual, realistic changes. I've worked with thousands of people, so I know most people are not going to cut out all bad carbs from their diet on day 1. But you can start cutting back a little at a time, and even a little will make an impact on improving your liver. Number 2, get off your chair or the couch that you're sitting on. And I don't mean go work out at the gym for 2 hours every day. I literally mean get up from sitting too long. If fatty liver disease is due to metabolic impairment, work on increasing your metabolism by being more active. There's nothing that slows down your metabolism more than being stagnant or sedentary. So for example, say you have a 9-to-5 job where you're sitting in front of a computer for hours on end. Make it a point to get out of the chair every couple of hours, do a little walk around the office, even if it means just filling up your bottle at the water cooler or standing up for some time. Studies have shown that prolonged sitting doubles your risk for diabetes and significantly reduces your lifespan. The critical number to remember is 4. 4 hours. So do whatever it takes to avoid sitting for longer than 4 hours at a time, because this is contributing to fat buildup and storage into your liver. Number 3, stop drinking alcohol, or at minimum start cutting back significantly. Not only is alcohol consumption one of the worst things you can do to your body, and no, there's no minimal amount that is healthy for you, it's also destroying your liver. What alcohol does is it inhibits fatty oxidation at the cellular level, which means accumulation of fat in the body, especially accumulation of fat in the liver. If you're already obese, you really can't afford to engage in behavior that's causing more accumulation of that fat. Alcohol stops the body's ability to burn fat over 36 hours. The World Health Organization, or the WHO, has emphatically stated there's no safe level of alcohol consumption. So even drinking a sip is damaging your body and your liver. So today I've kind of gone over 3 practical ways you can start reducing fatty liver disease today and begin the process of reversing the damage that has already been done. The first step is educating yourselves as to the harmful effects of fatty liver disease, and then actually doing something about it that's practical. Now, if you're at a point where you've already tried losing the weight through healthy eating, changing your diet, being physically active, and you're still obese, it may be time to consider an option like a gastric sleeve or a gastric bypass. If you're one of these people, instead of wasting your time month after month, year after year, getting no results, go schedule a consultation with a bariatric surgeon in your town. Make sure they're board certified and fellowship trained. In another video, I go into depth about the ins and outs of weight loss surgery, the benefits it provides, how safe it is, and why it outperforms every other weight loss treatment, and so on. Click on the link in the description below to watch that video so you can educate yourself as to what course of action you need to take. Also, if you're interested in a free weight loss surgery reference guide that I give to all my clients, type weight loss for good in the comments section below and I'll send you a free copy. Thank you for watching this video. If you found the content in this video helpful, please comment, like, and subscribe so we can get the word out to other people who are suffering from obesity and stop obesity in its tracks.